Bonjour. Hello. Welcome back to Elden Ring Nightreign. This is my second, not first, second expedition with Duchess. I have been trying to show my first expedition with each character, but something weird happened with my first run as Duchess. I'm not entirely sure what. I think it was a connection issue. Not entirely sure. But it happened super early on. I mean, I think it was before the first or second boss, so I basically didn't get to play Duchess at all. But here, looked, saw a fort off to our right, thought that'd be an easy place to go, and an enemy started taking damage. And I thought, ooh, is there poison? And I forgot that the abductor enemies exist. So, it's one of them, but I didn't know that at the time. Here, shield grease didn't care for that. And here, I was kind of hoping that a teammate would take the lead, because even though I can take the lead, I prefer not to, generally speaking. But here I found a dagger, and it does slightly more damage. So, figured we can swap to that, so we can have a bit more damage. And in case you don't know, every Nightfarer has their weapon, or their weapon class rather, that they have a unique, they have unique animations for. And for Duchess, that's daggers. And so the way that she attacks with daggers is different than the way that every other Nightfarer attacks with daggers. And you can definitely see that. And so, because of that, I'm going to be trying to focus on getting daggers. Here, as I've said with the other Nightfarers, improved attack power when two-handing. I figured, not going to use the weapon, but I can two-hand one of my daggers, so I'll do that. But the way that I approach things is I just head straight into an expedition. I don't go into the sparring section to learn about the character. I just jump straight into a run and then figure it out as I go, which is a terrible way to do things, and I would not recommend it at all. But it helps me maintain the information. Something about the stress, probably. But here, heard one of these, and I thought, I can get this without slowing the team down. It was a Fire Scorpion Charm, which boosts fire damage, but also makes you take more physical damage. Which, not a great thing, considering I don't have anything with fire damage. But I figured, Revenant, they deal mostly with, incantations, and a lot of incantations have fire. So, it might be useful to them, so I might as well pick it up and drop it later, when I get the chance. Especially since I've seen fire once or twice in that fight. But here, there are 3 different night enemies that all have their own unique health bar, but also share the same boss health bar. And here, we actually got one of those knights as a teammate, because when a Revenant kills an enemy, there's a chance that they'll become basically like a spirit summon that acts as a teammate. And she also has 3 like standard ones that she can summon. Here, none of these seemed good for me, but I figured might as well pick up Poise, I guess. And then from there, we can move on and set a grace so we can quickly get ourselves up to level 5. And thankfully it seemed like Revenant was willing to take charge on this expedition. As I said, I can take charge. I just really prefer not to. But here, we can jump up, and there's a church that gets us an extra flask. So, hit that, ran into those to open them up, to see if we could get any gold pickled foul foots, or any warming stones. And from there, our next destination is this fort with an abductor enemy. So, for the most part, just ignoring the enemies, going straight for the boss. And, in case you don't know, every single Nightfarer has their own ability and ultimate. Duchess's ability is, I believe, called Restage, which basically just makes you, like, click your fingers, and whatever enemy or boss you're fighting takes a bit of damage based on what happened in the past, like, 2 seconds or so. And so, if there's a big burst of damage, like blood loss or frostbite, or a critical hit, or someone using their ult, it's good to pop a restage there. And because that's so powerful, I just immediately assumed that it was going to have a long cooldown. And I would learn later. I mean, as of the point of this voice recording, I've only done, like, 2 or 3 expeditions as Duchess, but some point between here in the gameplay and this voice recording, I figured out that it has a pretty short cooldown. It's only like 7 seconds or something. And so, it's good to use that pretty often. And because you can actually skip the animation by doing something else, like attacking or dodging, a good rhythm that I found here quickly, physical attack looked good, but I decided to go with a bow just to have a bit of range. Because if someone goes down, it'd be nice to be able to get them back up without having to run over to them. Because that takes time and potentially puts me in a dangerous situation. And here, got up to level 7, and started running towards our next goal. But anyways, I found that a good rhythm for restage is to use your entire stamina bar attacking, and then as soon as you run out of stamina, hit restage and dodge backwards. And that's something I didn't know at the time, but now after a few expeditions as Duchess, it's something I picked up fairly quickly. And it's not like a professional level thing. It's not gonna turn you into like a just god tier Duchess, but if you want to try out Duchess, just occasionally, or if you need to do some kind of side quest that involves her, or if you're working with a team that wants a Duchess player, and you're fine with playing her, that's a pretty decently strong, but also very easy and fairly simple way to do things. Is just use your entire stamina bar, attacking, then restage, and dodge backwards. Or use it whenever someone ults. Both of those are pretty good times to do it, considering how fast the cooldown is, and how quick Duchess attacks. Meaning, you can put out a decent bit of damage just by spamming the light attack. And here, able to kill them right as they were flying up. And we actually got one of these. And I decided to go with increased recovery speed. I would have gone with the other thing if we had a recluse, because of the sorcery bonus that it had. Because I don't like having a lot of weapons on me. I try to stay at a maximum of 4. But I do like dropping weapons for my team, especially since I don't use them myself. Here, another thing, and here I got Serpent God Curved Sword. Now, in the base game, like in just normal Elden Ring, if you kill an enemy, or if an enemy dies, and you have Serpent God Curved Sword in your hand, you actually gain health back. And so, I picked up Serpent God Curved Sword because I wanted to see if it did actually do that here in Nightreign as well. If it did, that would be fantastic. If not, I would be severely disappointed, but not particularly surprised. Here, an enemy died, didn't get any health back, no health back, so once again, severely disappointed. But, ah well. But here, going into night 1, we are level 9. Which is pretty good. I maintained the belief that heading into night 1 you should be level 7. And heading into night 2 you should be level 10 to 12, but probably 11. There, I dropped that for the Revenant because Revenant is a spellcaster, and that gains you FP back upon attacks. Here, I wanted to see what this did, and it did nothing. So I just dropped it. And moved that to slot number 1. And I was just looking at these going, should I drop Duchess's dagger, or should I dual wield? Because both of those are options. And what I went with was dagger in one hand, bow in one. Because something cool about Nightreign is you can one-hand a bow and shoot the bow, and then you'll automatically one-hand your other weapon after firing. And that's just a good small detail that they added that fits with their speedier design philosophy. Here, popped ult so that way we could become invisible and just not instantly get attacked. That way people would be able to choose who they went after. And as you can see, I decided to go after the Sword Master because the Demi-Human Queen, they're a lot bigger and their hitbox can be slightly weird, and so having a very short-ranged weapon like a dagger could make it a bit harder to hit them. But with the Swordmaster dead, didn't have much choice. There, Popcorn stage, and just focused on outputting as much damage as I possibly could. And they went down. And here, first two didn't speak to me, but longer invincibility windows while maneuvering, that spoke to me. Especially since Duchess has a unique dodge. She has multiple unique dodge animations, actually, which is pretty cool. And here, Revenant was our de facto leader, so look to them for guidance. And with that, we could head forward. Here there were 4 Oracle Envoys acting as a single boss. So they all have their own unique health bar, but they also have a single boss health bar. The 2 teammates went off after the one on the left, so I went after the one on the right. And here, I saw that another dagger, but it also improves incantations. And since Revenant uses incantations, they're like the incantation Nightfarer, I decided to pick that up and drop it for him. That's something you might notice the more I play this game, is I am very, very kind to both Recluse and Revenant players. And the reason for that is because when I first got into Soulsborne as a series, I had a friend who was really into all kinds of magic builds. And so we played a lot, and I used a lot of great swords and curved swords, and I was your normal, like, knight player, going a bit into strength, a bit into quality, and then I had my ally, my friend, who went into a lot of magic builds. Lots of sorceries, lots of pyromancies, not a lot of miracles, because miracles kind of suck. There, I popped that, hoping that the golden, like, ray things that shoot out at people would go all over the place. It didn't work, but we killed him. We got the Revenant back up, and here we got Magma Blade, or enemies die no matter what their HP is on rare occasions. And I decided to go with that since we attack very quickly and a lot. So I thought that might be good. And I love the look of that skill, so I wanted to clap, but I didn't remember where it was right away. Here, just wanted to check that. Didn't care for it, so I was ready to move on. But Yeah, so because I have a friend, and it was the friend who actually got me into Dark Souls that plays a lot of magic characters. So, because of that friend, I have a soft spot for magic builds, even though I don't like playing magic builds myself whatsoever, outside of Elden Ring itself. I really like playing with magic builds. And so, any kind of Recluse or Revenant player, always happy to see them, always happy to help them out with just weapon or talisman drops that could benefit their build, or just like immediately going to revive them when they go down. Whatever I can do. There, I saw gold pickled foul foot, which gets you more rune acquisition for a short time. So grab that along with some warming stones since they heal you. And more heals is always good. And then we book it over to the next location. And as we can see here, it is a red wolf of the king consort, which they jump around a lot, constantly maneuvering around, which makes it kind of hard to hit them, especially if you have very slow weapons or weapons that have very low range. And daggers have very low range, so I thought better to bow on this fight. And looking back, it's pretty easy to see that this was my first, like, actual full expedition playing Duchess, because I just wasn't using Restage nearly as much as I should have. And looking back, that's very clear in hindsight. But we brought the Red Wolf down, and I saw crossbow could be nice, but less likely to be targeted is even nicer. Then here, pop that, saw that they didn't jump, but figured I'm just gonna go with them. And the bird just kind of said, nope, you're done. You're done flying with Bird Express. And I was gonna follow them, but I thought, well, once I hit this wall, I realized I'm not gonna be able to catch up to them. So I should just go with the other teammate instead, because I'd rather not end up alone. So ignored the boss that was in the ruins and booked it to try to keep up with the executor. And here, checked the map just to see where we were going and what everyone was trying to get to. And I saw that there was a church that was marked. And, well, the Revenant hit it. They were ready to go, and me and Executor didn't want to slow him down, so we figured not getting a single flask is fine, we'll live. There, I picked up 2 Starlight Shards. In case you don't know, Starlight Shards give you a chunk of FP. And while that's useless for me, because I don't really use FP, they are very useful for spellcasters, like Recluse and Revenant. So I dropped them there. Revenant was already running away, so they didn't get to see that. But here, we kill the boss. I immediately drop them because we're gonna stop to check this. Picked up more stamina recovery speed, and then I swung at these to try to get the Revenant's attention. Decided to pick this up and drop it to make it hopefully end up closer to them. They noticed him, they picked him up, and one more weapon to check. Check these. Didn't really care for either of them. They didn't fit my character very well. So, opted to just keep on running. That's something you'll notice a lot when I play with Revenants and Recluses, is I'll just buy 2 Starlight Shards in day 1 or 2, and then I'll maybe buy another 2 in day 3 if I can afford it. Because it's a good way to help out your Recluse, it's a good way to help out your Revenant, and the Starlight Shards are pretty cheap. So, good way to help them, shows them that you care, that you appreciate them, that you're at least somewhat of a team player. But with that being said, here we have this ulcerated tree spirit, and these are one of my favorite non-major bosses. Non-major bosses being just anything that doesn't drop a remembrance, or is like a major boss to the story. So, a lot of visual clutter, and I couldn't see when to dodge, so got it with a grub tag there. But here, Revenant got us back up, and with both teammates down, I figured might as well just ignore the boss for a quick second. Didn't work, and since they went down and it now required 2 bars, I popped the ult, and thankfully that was enough to get everyone back up and running. And here, pop a restage, and the boss is dead. And Revenant died once more, but with the boss dead, we can wail on him. And as you can see, as I attack, I kind of go past them. Here, Syncadia, which is another dagger and less likely to be targeted. So, and it has better damage too, so picked that up. And I figured that can be my main dagger from now on, because it has the best damage of the dagger that I've gotten. And then I saw, ooh, Scorpion Stinger, that has Scarlet Rot, and more damage than the dagger. So I can have my Scarlet Rot dagger, and then I can have my damage dagger. But having defeated that boss, we can now start making our way towards the circle. And here, got stuck on the terrain. That can happen from time to time. All you have to do is not panic and you'll be perfectly fine. But here, another Site of Grace. That gets us up to level 12. Which is pretty good. Like I said, you want to head into Night 2 at level 11. Here, I thought they were going for the Everjail. Then I realized, no, they're going for that jump there. But then, the Executor there went off to And at the time, I thought, that's a garbage idea. There's no way we're gonna get this in time. Here, I opted to get the 10k runes. And I was wrong in the sense that we actually did have enough time to kill the boss. But I was correct in that fighting the boss was going to end with us in the rain. And I do think that calling it the rain is better than calling it the Ring of Fire. So that's something that, like, that's what I'm going to be calling it from now on, is just the rain. But here, didn't realize there was an easier way up right away. But once I saw that, I went for it. And made it out of the rain. We have one flask remaining. So I was a little worried about that, but here, 2 omens. And pretty easy to bring them down. Especially when you got 2 people wailing on them, and the Scarlet Rot. And especially if you can bleed them while they're trying to jump. Very easy to kill them. And they proceed as a Fell Omen. So, here, got the good dodge, and after Scarlet Rotting them, swapped over to the Syncadia to have more damage. And after getting a critical hit, decided to restage, and then decided to back up because of the phase 2 transition. And then got hit twice back to back, so I healed. Decided to restage because giant laser beam to the face. And saw that he was going after my teammate, so I got to get the revive in. And here I was gonna run towards them, but then they started exploding, so decided to back up because not at full health and no blast remaining. And I figured it's better to be safe than dead. Here, got him Scarlet Rotted again, got the restage, and I figured I'd pop this, and that would allow me to revive my teammate. It didn't exactly go as planned, but I figured, well, at that point, Fell Omen is super low health, so just opted to kill him instead. Popped the gold pickled foul foot, and got even more stamina recovery speed. And with that, we can start to make our way into this area, where we can get one final Sight of Grace. Pretty close to getting to level 14, but not quite enough. Here, everything needed a smithing stone too, so I decided to just buy Starlight Shards. And then none of those bottom 3 looked good, so I have the runes, might as well just go with as many warming stones as possible. And then yep, Revenant was thankfully slow enough to see the Starlight Shards and pick them up. Which isn't something you hear too often, of being thankful that someone is slow, but in my experience, Revenant players are typically just go, 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 go. Beelining from one place to another. Like a stereotypical cartoon ADHD character. Which is very entertaining to watch, and it does make them generally good teammates in the sense of being fast and being proficient. But if you're trying to drop them something, there's a lot of difficulties there. And I think that's why I prefer having Recluse as a teammate just a little bit more. But Recluse and Revenant I both like as teammates. And here, we can make our way into the Nightlord, where we've got ourselves Gladius, the Beast of Night. And for some reason they were down a chunk of health instantly. I'm not sure why they were down a chunk of health instantly. That was a little weird, but I'm not complaining. Here, just tried to focus on getting downed in with the Scorpion Stinger and without dying. And we hit him with the Scarlet Rot. So backed up, threw down a Warming Stone, and I figured I can shoot them with my bow since they're Scarlet Rotted until I get my health back from the Warming Stone. And once I did, I focused on just reviving a teammate, got him up, and it was back into the fray. This time with the Syncadia, since they were still Scarlet Rotted. And I will say, the extra flair to Duchess's dodges is so fun. I like it a lot. And maybe this is me like tricking myself, but I think that her dodges are actually better at keeping you alive. Maybe they are, maybe they aren't, but it feels easier to dodge when I'm playing as Duchess. Here, I saw that all three were seemingly going for Duchess, so I went after them. That was a mistake that I made. At the very end, I saw that one of them was going for me, and I tried to pop my ult, because it looked just about full, but it wasn't, and so that's why I got hit. But here, one teammate went down, but I got player up, and I decided to just book it straight for the Revenant. Got them up, and I figured, okay, back into the fight time. Here, dodge, didn't dodge. Then I saw that Revenant was down, so went over to revive them again. And then it was back into the fighting. I'd swapped back to the Scorpion Stinger because the Scarlet Rot had worn off. And having Scarlet Rot on would be nice just for that bit of extra damage. And here, decided to go with this outer one because I'd rather not be in between two dogs. I'd rather stay on the outside, where I'm less likely to get hit by multiple enemies at once. But here, just kept running after them. Got a bit too aggressive, which got me hit. But I did eventually get the Scarlet Rot on him. And there, I was completely out of flasks, but I decided I'm just going to ult, and that way I can revive one of my teammates. Drop a Warming Stone because I'm out of flask and I would like some health back. But the 3 bars was just too much, and it wasn't enough. and so we lost. Now, my teammates were perfectly serviceable. They did their jobs well enough. I just feel like they didn't have a lot of experience with Gladius. Because in Nights 1 and 2, they did perfectly fine. No complaints. But Night 3, there was a sudden massive drop-off in what they could do. So, hopefully they'll gain experience and get better, because in Nights 1 and 2, they did pretty well. But Duchess was very fun. And, again, I was just trying to get 3, hopefully 4 remembrances. Or not remembrances, but journal pages before doing the remembrances. But I decided to continue on that. And I'll see you later. Yeah.